All right, testing. Hola, everybody. Now we do have a video to get to. We have a service call for you guys to watch, but based on the title, some of you guys are probably just dying to see if I screwed up, but we'll get to that. Now, normally I don't do this. I do go into the comments like right after the video is posted, and I hang out there that day, that night, or whatever. And I try to answer any questions or, talk to any of you guys that have, good things, bad things to say, whatever. If it's super negative or it's inappropriate, of course, that's where I draw the line. It's not really a problem for me. It happens once every so often, but not really. But that's not what I'm going for today. I do want to, when I answer these comments that are like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, or, they're doubting what I did, I try to answer them in the way that I'm thinking when I'm on the call and my situation, right? So I'm going to do that today just so I can clear up a few things that maybe you guys were thinking in the last video or thinking in this video and you didn't see those comments or my answers. So I don't want to call these guys out, but Mario, I don't have any issue with you. You actually keep me on my toes because you point out a lot of things over, a lot of my videos. So he mentioned that the walk-in cooler that we worked on, it's wired for a freezer, right? It has that big compressor. It's not defrosting, and that he didn't see any pins on the defrost timer. And if I tested the defrost. Now, to be honest with you guys, if I walk up to a walk-in cooler and it doesn't have a defrost timer, or if the timer is taken out of the picture altogether by not having the pins or anything or any times on it, I'm not really worried. It's not really an issue for me. Walk-in cooler, it's defrosting all day when it reaches temp. If it's working properly, it'll defrost during its off cycle. Plain and simple. Now, should you replace the timer? Should you make sure that timer's working if it does have one? Of course, yes. But it's not really a concern of mine. When I walked up to that unit, it was iced up, and I wanted to know why it was iced up, and we were digging into that problem. I was not really worried about the timer. And like I said, if it was a freezer, totally different story. You need the defrost timer. And you need heaters and everything. On a walk-in cooler, it has air defrost when it's off, because when it cycles off, even though the compressor and the condenser turn off, the fans in the evaporator stay on, and it's defrost. Now we can force the defrost if we have the timer and we have several times throughout the day if we need to. If it's an issue or they leave the door open, it runs, they drop the temp a little too low and they like it like that. There's going to be different situations where, we should defrost it overnight or something. A lot of my customers just don't have defrost on their coolers, and they don't like it off during the day. So there's, different reasons. And the defrost timer that it had was a Grassland style. We call them electronic timers around here, but they're not the big mechanical, metal type ones. It's a board with a little timer on it, and that timer always sticks. So even if I wanted to replace it, those things don't last long around here. There's a lot of dirt, sand if we're getting closer to the coast. I live about 2 hours away from the beach, so sand and dirt and construction in general, because a lot of it's going on right now, are an issue, and those things jam all the time. So I do keep them on the truck. Honestly, the bill is really high. It was obviously working without one, and I'm not too concerned on a cooler about my defrost. And the issue that we had on the walk-in cooler was that the evaporator was plugged up with dirt. So as I melted the ice, I cleaned off the inside of the coil, because like I said, on those center mounted evaporators, the air goes up through the coil and then out the sides. So normally you don't see where the dirt gets sucked in because it's inside. You have to drop the panel and clean it from the inside out. So we did that, and we had good airflow, replaced the fan motor, and that was that. So something like that, along with the contactors. Every contactor you come across is probably going to be pitted in will need to be replaced, but do you replace contactors on every call? No. So timer and contactor were definitely written up, and eventually we do get those follow-up calls to go back and change out those parts. It's just I work with NTEs, so if you guys do commercial and you guys have, I mean, it's more with the bigger chains. Well, I guess it's with all customers, right? Because they all have a budget. Basically, it's a not to exceed limit. Mine is always 500 across a lot of these companies. So I cannot go over so if I'm under 500, I'm good. I charge, I get paid, no problem. If I go over 500, then we have to ask the area manager to approve it or to raise a limit on a certain call. Normally we do the quote, either we do a quote or we do the work if they really like want it done and they don't care about the price, and then we give them the final price and they have to approve it or they have to raise it on their system so I can go in and submit my bill to them. So we have an NTE of 500. We can go over. There is a hard cap around 1,000. So a lot of these bills get close to 1,000, especially on refrigeration where we have to do refrigerant because that's not cheap anymore. So this one was a high bill already with the motor, a few hours with the ice and all the time that it took. So, and then I was already running into overtime because I was probably gonna get out around 5. So their hard cap is around 1,000 on most of these companies. So after 1,000, they have no control. They have to send it up to headquarters, which is for here. It's usually somewhere in Central Texas, like Houston. And most of the time it can get approved. It just takes a lot longer. They have to be willing to do that repair and pay it and be okay with it, and it has to go through several people. So if we can break it up, that's really the only way we can do it. So if I do my major repairs and I get paid for it, and then I go back and do all the minor repairs, that's how we do it. So we don't really charge a travel or a big travel fee or anything. It's just hours. So if it takes me so many hours to do everything in one day, if I break it up, it's the same price. If I could, I would spend the whole day out there just doing everything to spec, to by the books, and getting everything replaced, right? But that's not the way it works. So the other comment I had from Brad was, he's quoting what I said, right? The line is sweating, it's gonna reach temp, so we're gonna leave. I don't think I said it exactly like that, but I ran it after we did the cleaning, replaced the motor, and we just, you know, kind of kept an eye on it. The line was sweating coming back, so that's cooling to me. I actually did stay. I always stay after my calls to see if it reaches temp. So I know I said it's going to reach temp. It did reach temp. He probably didn't watch all the way through. At the end of my video, I said it was under 38 and that we were good. It ran fine. It cycled and it seemed okay to me. He said also that when I went to lunch, I left it running with one fan on a 110-degree day. Didn't last very long, did it? I didn't let it run like that. I let it run without replacing the motor, just so I could see the system coming on and making sure we didn't have any other issues, because it's happened to me a lot of times where before I kind of just went in and started replacing the first problem I saw, like the motor, the thermostat, whatever, pressure control, you know, things that give out, and then like you have a whole other issue, whether it be the compressor, the blower wheel, something major that you just spent a whole bunch of time replacing a small part and you didn't look at the big picture. And you just wasted a whole bunch of time, especially if it's something where you had to recover or do something, you know. So I like to bypass things or just run it to see what it's doing, if it's working and all that, if I can do the simple repairs, and then that was, you know, the only issue we had, or if we have bigger problems and we need to dive into it and, you know, ignore the small problems. So that's all that was. And he, I guess, will be happy with this video or seeing the title, because he's like, you will be back for sure. I didn't know I was going to be back. It worked. It cycled and everything. The reason I didn't dive more into it is because it was an R22 system, but it had a POE oil compressor. Now normally, if you find an original compressor, it's going to be mineral oil. So when I see POE oil and I don't see a marking on it, I don't know what refrigerant is in there. Now, around here, nobody uses R22. Even back when it was first phased out, I ran into a bunch of 427, New Shot, what was the other one? MO99. I hated that one. I saw that one a lot. So no matter what, more than likely I have to pull the charge and put in what I use, which is 407C. That's the one that I've had the best luck with. Obviously nothing is as good as what the system was made for, R22, but I've had nothing but bad experiences with all the other refrigerants, and the only one that I've been able to get away with is 407C. So if it's not 407C, no matter what, I gotta pull the charge. A lot of times they get mixed, which I just recently talked to an older tech not too long ago and found out that he mixes refrigerants, and he's one of those that, like, nothing's ever happened, it's always worked. So you never know what you're gonna find. I was not gonna stay there all night and pull the charge if the unit was working, so I could not top it off because I wasn't gonna mix refrigerants. And you'll see in this video today that some of the stuff that we had to do was related but not directly my fault. And as long as you let the customer know, you're fine. Like, if you leave and you're like, we fixed the problem for today, but you might want to look into this, or you might have issues with this, because more than likely, like with mine, they don't want to pay a few grand the first day. If it's working, they're going to be like, why are we going to pay extra? So I always tell them, look, I got it going for you. This is what we found. If you have future issues, we might need to do this, this, or this. So when I came back, they gave me a new request, and I was okay to charge for the work that I did in this video. Basically because I told them, I don't know what's in the system. We'll have to pull it out, weigh in a whole new 407C, and if we have any other repairs to do, we'll do them. And basically, it ran for almost a week, and then we got the call to go back. So that is what today's video is going to be when we got called back. So it was working fine. You'll see what the issue was, but it wasn't the same exact issue. It was just like, I knew something was going to be up with the charge, so that's what had caused it to go down again. And you'll see we didn't go back to another iced up coil or anything. It was a different type of issue. So I hope that clears up anything that you guys might have been thinking about. And I have another subscriber who commented on my last Zoom lock push fitting video and pointed out a very big mistake that I did. So I'm actually going to go over that in another video. I actually went back to work on that system again. Nothing to do with the push fittings, but if I had noticed what this guy commented, and I zoomed in on my gauges that day. If I had noticed what he noticed, I would have probably worked on it a little bit more, and instead of getting called back that it was down again. So I'll explain that one in that video, but I think I'm gonna start doing this sort of content. It'll be like a short video where I go over some comments. Sometimes people go to my older videos and leave really good questions and they get buried. I don't get to them. So I think what I might do is I might sit down like right now and talk to you guys about some really good questions that I get. Or if somebody's calling me out on something, I can explain to you what goes on in my head and why I did things the way I did them. Things don't always go perfect. My channel is more of a realistic take or approach on being in the HVAC field. I'm not perfect. I'm not like Chris, Rick, and all those guys that have those great channels where they are very technical on their stuff. And if you want to do like a school thing, HVAC school, AC, service tech, all those guys that have like 100,000 subscribers, they are the ones that are giving out free lessons. I'm giving you, or I started my channel to show you what I found, because I found a lot of crap in the field. And I take pride in what I do, even though it's not perfect. I'm being realistic with my videos. I get them by. I do what I can. I have budgets to work with. I have time frames. I have all this stuff, and I get it done. Customers are super happy with us. We take a lot of work from other companies that rush or try to push sales and stuff. I like to repair things. So I hope you guys are enjoying. Thank you. We're almost at 5,000. I think we're around 4.5 right now. Really appreciate all the support and everything. And let's get on with the video. Alright, so it's on. It's not iced up. It does not feel cold whatsoever. Alright, so on this one I did replace the fan motor. We got rid of some ice and cleaned it out. So now the fans are still running. So it is calling, so we should have pressure and everything, but now I'm worried that that compressor locked out. So obviously if it was a fuse, this whole condenser would be off, but we are pulled in, so we are calling. I just looked at this real quick. So what's left of our pressure controls, they do go through the coil, so that's why none of them are tripped, and it's pulled in. So this doesn't feel super hot, but we're gonna check the windings real quick. Gotta hate these. So let's unplug this, and hopefully it's not grounded, but okay, so we do have open windings on these, so we're gonna see if we can cool it down. I don't know if I want to use water, but we might have to, or ice. And thankfully nothing's grounded. Now this was running with one fan for I don't know how long. So like I said, I don't know how long it was running without the fan. And then I don't think it was sweating, so it should have been cooling the compressor as it ran. But if we get it to turn back on, we're probably gonna have to recover the charge and then put in fresh 407C, because like I said, I don't know when's the last time this was worked on. Obviously this is a newer compressor with POE oil. We are not the only ones that service this location. We do, but every few years they call somebody else, or if we can't make it, they call somebody else. So I don't know the history on this, so we're just gonna assume that it might have the wrong charge, the wrong refrigerant. It's R22, or it originally was, so I don't know what they put in. So we have easy water access. I'm just around the corner there. We have shitty water pressure here, but it should do. We're not cleaning coils or anything. Although I might rinse that just in case that's what's giving us problems. But let's try and put this to cool. And I'll clean this up once we start seeing if this is closing. This usually cools in a few minutes. This is a cool presser for you guys that don't know, from Subco. Alright guys, I wish I had time. That literally took a minute or less. And if you can hear the tone, we have those windings all across. I'm gonna leave it on there for a couple more minutes just to make sure it's completely cool, and then we'll start it up. Jesus Christ. something up in here. So it's actually running, but it's not running that great. I was hoping it was a dryer, but there's no temperature difference across it. That's how you would check. Bypass is working fine. It's not bypassed right now. And we're just getting really high head pressure with low suction. So let's go see if we can open that expansion valve maybe. Okay, almost forgot to rinse it, but if this brings down my head pressure and stuff, we might be undercharged if you think about it. So then I still have to recover and use a different refrigerant to make sure it's the right one and everything, and then we'll mark it, label it. But it could very well just be dirty. Oh shit, oh yeah. That's dirty. So that's probably one problem. Alright, nothing too fancy. We didn't even use cleaner. I did wash it from the inside out with the blades on because those are a pain in the ass to remove, those screws. So we just rinsed it through. It was still a little black or brown, a lot of dirt. I would say moderate to a little over. It wasn't as bad as like some of the ACs we've done lately, but that could have been causing my high head pressure. But it was only high head pressure if it was R22. If it was, like I said, it's been changed out. So if it was 427 or 407C, it was actually within range. It was only 125 degrees condensing, which we have about 100 degrees, and it's always going to be a little bit more than that here in Texas because of the humidity. So it was doing okay. Usually if you're going to be over 20 degrees over ambient, and I want to say it's probably 105 at least, so it's not bad. But I already told them I would feel comfortable pulling out the charge, putting in what we know, labeling it. Whenever I have issues like that on an R22 system and it's not marked, or even if it is marked, you never know. I like to pull out the charge, put in what I'm using, and then label it and all that, and go by the pressures there. Because if you guys look, the R22 pressures are very different in temperature from the other two. So with R22, it's not right, it's overheating or close to. With the other two, it's actually working within range. But we are taking forever to cool. And if it is 427A instead, because that was more popular a long time ago, or like back when this probably would have been repaired, that doesn't work. It doesn't work efficiently on refrigeration, and we used it a few times. I did not like it. We switched to 407C, and that one can get to low temps the way it should, and it's less. It's like 80% of the R22 capacity if you're charging by pounds or whatever. So we need to do all that. They already knew that. I left that in my notes. I was hoping this would work for a while before we had to do all that, so I can schedule it, but it actually acted up and overheated, so we're here. All right, so it actually satisfied. We have sweating lines. That's cooling the compressor. It should not overheat anymore. It's doing very well. And I just noticed that that's a little too tall. So I'm gonna just cover it up for now. I'm not gonna redo the pipe right now. We're good to go. Ugly as hell, but I don't want to rub up. So do that. Our superheat was good and everything. So let's go check the temp. All right, so we'll see if they changed the condenser or no, I don't think so. It's gonna be a semi-hermetic, I believe. Ice, that one was changed out, but not this one. Real nice spot to put a service port. I can't get to that one. So I might have to check it on the compressor itself. Everything's running. All right, so I swept all around, nothing in the evaporator, nothing in the coil, nothing to worry about. I think I'm getting this one confused with another unit that I think we already replaced. So this one has a minor leak somewhere. So I hate to do this, but it's actually bubbling from the port itself. I don't even know if it had one of these. All right, it's been running for a while. We don't have any more ice. We're just gonna top it off. Make sure we close these valves properly, and then use some caps with gaskets in it, preferably. And we'll see if they want to just keep it running like that. I can't do too much with this one. It's a little bit of a hot mess. It's had a lot cut out and stuff. Completely dry of oil or any of that kind of hint of a leak. So I don't see anything. Leak detector never got a hit. It didn't need much to top off. I don't think we have any major leaks. All right, now this hoodie's kind of cool. Obviously you put it under your cap once it's wet and it keeps you cool. I throw it in the shirt and it got me all wet, but that's what keeps you cool, man. Wish it was a little bit bigger in the back, but it's good when I don't want to take up a straw hat or anything. I can just put this on real quick. Put it on, take it off, stays around my neck, cool. So apparently I like it, so it'll be in my tool link. I have a bunch of safety gear there. So anyway, I'm pretty sure it was just a port leaking. When it went off, I think it was going off on my gauge, on my pressure probes. So I didn't get a real hit. I did get a little bit of bubbles on the port itself, even though I don't like to spray it like that. But I wasn't gonna hook up anymore. So I just made sure we closed them and they were seating properly, and then capped them off with the brass caps with the gaskets. Should be good to go, and didn't need much. So it's gonna be something super small like that, because it had enough to get it to 39 and just couldn't drop from there. And then once I topped it off, the expansion valve was not icing up or frosting anymore. So we made it through the TXV. Okay, as far as the first one, the walk-in, once we recovered and put in 407C, we did see better pressures. We did see a little bit better suction side pressure. We got it over 40 PSI, because it was stuck in the 30s, I believe. And our condensing temperature was still the same, around 120 degrees or so. So I think we still have a restriction there, but I don't want to put too much into it, just because they buy their own equipment once it's time, and they might want to just buy a new system. I'm just getting it going for now. If they want me to continue repairs, we will do so. To me, we probably have to replace the expansion valve, and I might do it with the solenoid just to be safe, since we're already in there. Only because when I went to adjust the stem, it was very hard and then it got really loose. And I've had it happen where the stem just kind of breaks off. I don't know how. I need to try and open them up. But you can't close it, you can't open it. And it's stuck. And if the sensing bulb is messed up, which it might be because it's a tight spot and that thing is just wrapped everywhere. It looks like it's touching everything. I didn't see a rub out though. It could have issues because of the power head. So I don't know. We'll see. It was decent. I did have superheat this time. I did have about 20 degrees at the compressor, and it was going down a little bit, but it was already satisfying at that point. So we had cooling to the compressor without slugging it. It wasn't, you know, pure liquid, and it shouldn't overheat anymore. That was the main issue, is it overheating. So that's gonna do it for that one. Just a few issues, no big deal. Did the exhaust belts, and then we did this walk-in real quick. I have a long week ahead of me, so I think we're done for today. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see y'all.